Hey guys, so it is now 2:22 on Friday, August 21st, and I know a lot of you were saying, "Where's Bianca? Where's Bianca? Where's Bianca?" So I couldn't find her, but then I just checked online. I texted back and forth, and we literally got Bianca now. We're going to continue this Jay's chat for a little bit. I do have something coming up in about 30 minutes, but I'm going to jump on live with Bianca. It is connecting right now. Bianca, can you hear me
I'm in
okay?
full teacher mode. Yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you great. I'm so glad that I found you because everyone was like, "Where's Bianca? Bianca, Bianca, Bianca." So before we even dig into this All Stars madness, today is like, what is going on? I'm like, when are the locusts coming, girl? Because like I feel like between this pandemic,
But
girls going off on Instagram and comments and ooh, girl. But can I just say, it's so lovely to see your smiling face again.
I think, can I just tell you, I've gotten my entire life from your lives. Like
Oh,
I went back into full fan mode. I tuned in. I got to connect with people, and
oh
this
wow.
like literally Lisa and I. I'm sorry, Lisa and I. She must be talking about me.
She probably talking about
Isis and
everybody,
I,
girl.
right? Isis and I would talk and recap all of these lives. So I mean, thank you as a
Oh,
fan.
thank you. Really, it's like no one expected with the pandemic that the Top Model would become this binge watch show. How many years later, it was the top show on Hulu and Amazon. But look, Allison and Isis are here watching. They're like, "Go,
My
Bree,
girls.
you gotta tell, or Bianca, tell the tea." I know because we are talking about Cycle 17, but I just want to tell you, I know you were watching the chat when I was doing your cycle. Can I just tell you again how I felt your pain with that makeover, child? Woo!
And I always laugh because I mean I was broken down after they cut my hair, but now in hindsight, there's like the Amber Roses, and these women came out like almost a couple of years later where it was celebrated to have these low haircuts, and that just wasn't my reality at the time. No one was celebrated for being bald or having short hair. I didn't know that truth, and my family's West Indian. I'm West Indian, and it's all about the long hair. My mom literally said, "Do not
Mm-hmm.
come in the house looking like that." And I wish I could have embraced it. I wish I could have.
But you kind of did. You really did. I really felt your pain, but you did embrace it. And the thing is, you give face. You're so stunning. So you served it. Like you really did serve it. So yeah. So by the way, a
You
lot of
know,
people are saying,
after I got signed, I wore berets everywhere. I would never walk around New York with my hair out. I always had a hat on. I was so insecure.
"Oh wow, wow!" But again, my I hat off to you guys because you were young women. I mean, I know I would have had a horrible time. Forget being your age at the time when you were on the show, but
Right.
being, oh my God, even being 30, if I was a
Right.
contestant on that show, I could never, ever, even today, and I just turned 48, I would never be able to do a reality show
Yeah.
like that,
And
really.
I'm glad you touched on that because we don't really sit and analyze what's going on. I love reality television. I criticize everything and everyone,
Yeah.
but really think about what goes into like the dynamics at play. We have no television. We're stripped away from our homes. Like you said, I was 18 on the
Yeah.
show. And you're put in these situations where you're around people that you probably never would
Mhm.
interact with. I remember literally going through this mind game of am I a bad person on the
Mhm.
All-Star cycle when Lisa would constantly jump in battles. And I'm
Yeah.
like, why can't she mind her business? Because all my life growing up, my mother would say, if it has nothing to do with you, mind your business. And it didn't register to me that culturally we just come from different places. And what makes sense to me does not make sense to
To you.
her.
Hmm.
And so
Speaking of,
things.
if I, because I'm seeing, I'm reading the comments here because I know there's a lot going back and forth in the comments. I just want to clarify. I know there's a lot of kind of like mistruths out there. First of all, I was so blessed. I hate that Instagram wouldn't allow me to do the three-way. They took that feature away.
I
It was
would have
supposed to do three.
gagged if all three of you could have been on.
They used to do, they literally, with their new update, they took that feature away. So I'm kind of pissed at Instagram for that. But I am grateful that we have the technology and that I could speak with Isis, who I love dearly, and also Allison today. And I want to say these are both really, you know, in my opinion, both Isis and Allison, these are women who have gone on and achieved. They're beautiful people, beautiful spirits.
Yes.
And I'm really glad that I got to speak with them today. And we got to speak our truths about working in a very crazy environment on the show. And I'm going to let you talk about it in a second. But I want to clear up, there's a lot of weird stuff going on here. And that, you know, everybody who is ultimately on the show, you know, all of you go through psych evaluation. You have to meet with 3 different psychologists, et cetera. Everyone on the show passes psych eval. I know now there's all this kind of like weird stuff going back and forth. Let me just tell you, Isis, Allison, they're wonderful, amazing women. I totally support them. I'm so glad I got to speak with them today. And there's a lot of like weird gossip going like with former castmates, whatever. Let's just leave it as gossip. Let them have their opinions. But I'm here to say that they are amazing women.
Yes.
And yes, and I think there's a reason why, you know, Allison has a huge following. Isis does, as do you, you know, so, but yeah.
Yes.
All stars.
And Allison, 2 of my closest friends from the shows who I love dearly. In my mind, Allison was the winner for All Stars because we're thinking about brand and model and being able to gather the following that she has. Allison probably has the biggest following of all the top models with the exception of like Eva. But like she's an all-star, you know, in every right of that word. Isis is just, she's amazing. She's
talented.
So talented. Like people don't even realize how dope Isis is as a person, as a model, as a personality. She's amazing. And for the record, we have no way to access the information if anyone passed or failed their psych evaluation, and I'll leave it as that.
It's absolutely true. No one has access to that information.
You're crazy. You probably didn't pass your psych evaluation if you think you have that information at your disposal.
No one does. And I can tell you for network legal reasons, everyone has to be on the show. So that's actually 100% true. But, you know, talking about Cycle 17, and there are just so many fan questions from it today. And I am going to post this up right next to the other IG Live. So that I'm calling this like part 2. Well, I wanted to speak about the tea. And since we have talked about that ending, how there were 2 judgings, it was an unprecedented thing. I mean, I felt so horrible for Angelique. And at the same time, I felt really horribly for Allison and Lisa being asked to be brought back. And, you know, I was at that time, as I've been very open about talking about, I was not producing on the show. I was just, these were my last 2 seasons. I knew it. That's all I was there to do. I was kind of work for hire. But I will tell you that what I did not say in the previous live, so here's the tea, when we did go in for that kind of redo judging, we were already shooting Cycle 18. And they had just done a judging for Cycle 18, and we did a secondary judging the same day. And we were kind of just briefed. Like I was working during the day on something else for Cycle 18 and then was rushed into the judging to redo it. Yeah. And I was basically told, I mean, I honestly thought we were going to do like a real judging. And I assumed, because I know Allison, like Tyra really, really favored Allison. And who wouldn't? Because she's amazing. She's got this great look. But I know Tyra really had a bond with Allison. I made the assumption, I just thought, well, for sure. And Allison had a great body of work. I thought we were all going to vote Allison and that's what was going to happen. And I was just kind of told by a producer, I did not even speak to Tyra before that judging or anything. I was told by a producer in the other room, they're like, we're going to do this really quick. And they for some reason, they had said they wanted Lisa to win. And I just was like, okay. It was like really weird. Like we didn't do a proper voting. That's the truth.
Right.
There was no real vote. We were just shot and they edited the judging they needed.
I did not know that. That is some tea.
That's tea. That's the tea I didn't talk about in the last one. It was like really weird. But the whole culture behind the scenes of the show at that time was strange. Right. You'd been on the show before and I did talk about it publicly. I don't want to get into it too much, but I'd actually left the show after Cycle 8. The public did not know that. And I was kind of, asked to be brought back under pressure just to do one cycle. That was your cycle.
Yeah.
And that cycle, it was very uncomfortable for me. It was actually my least favorite cycle from a behind the scenes standpoint, which I don't have to get into now. There were all these reasons. It was very awkward behind the scenes. And I actually was only talking to Tyra on camera. It was just awful. So we don't have to get into
us. Only on camera.
Yeah, it was really awkward. And then yes, I did go back again, but it was just a weird transitional cycle. But let's talk about cycle 17. Why did you go back? Why? Because I asked Isis and Allison this. Like, you know what the pressure cooker of the show is, but why would you come back?
You know what? It was really a redemption cycle for everyone involved. I think what happened was you felt like, I can only speak for myself, but I felt like, okay, I see what I did wrong. I've been watching reality television. It developed so much since my time on television. I have a career. I'm legitimate now. I can do this. I need to go back. And it wasn't a regret. It was just like, I need to go back and get what was for me. And so that's why I went back. And I mean, I never thought I wouldn't get on because we did the audition.
Sure.
We had to go back on camera and they asked me like, who do you want to be there? And literally every name that I mentioned showed up into the house down.
Oh, wow.
To, what's the girl's name? Alexandra.
Oh, Alexandria. Yes.
Yeah. And everyone was like, I think no one else in the house was familiar with her, but I was still a fan at the time. And I remember thinking, this girl is crazy. Like, but I thought she was like fun crazy. And I wanted, I love that. I love fun crazy. I love fun bitchy. Let's have fun. But it was very different. And I think going back to something like that is almost like going back to summer camp where you had so much fun and then you gotta go in the winter. No one's there. And it's like, I tried to make this thing happen again. It just wasn't the same feeling. And we were so wrapped up in our minds because we knew editing. We know production. We knew how to do these things.
And you could see, because, and I said this to both Allison and Isis, when I remember the first shoot, you know, we do the little intro and then, you know, the cameras are even repoing and I look at all y'all go, we got this. We had our little conversations, even when we were doing the shoots. And remember cycle 17 again, and I talked about this in the last live. I only came back for those 2 cycles. They wanted me to stay on till 20. I said, there's no way I can do it. So I wasn't producing. So I don't know if you noticed, they downgraded my title as well. All the chyron on screen said director of photo shoots. I was like, really, if you all want to be that petty, go ahead, put whatever you want there. That whole behind the scenes of that show, they're the petty paddy wagon, truly.
Right.
A lot of those producers, there are a lot of senior people involved there. But anyway, my whole point is, I just was like, I was there, but I had a connection to all of you girls that were there, and I truly loved all your hearts. So I know we had a lot of wink and nods that people did not know that was not on camera. I know you and I had several as well.
Yeah, and you know what I think? When you came into that house for the first photo shoot, it made us feel comfortable because it was not just like a familiar face. It was like, you're us, we're you. Like, okay. Like, it made you relax a little bit because everyone was so intense. And to the point that you guys made about like the judges, or you said Andre might have been out of it. I felt like everyone was out of it. Quite honestly, like everyone was over it. Like the judging didn't have
the same.
And I just thought it was because it was 17 and, you know, this is routine at this point, but it just did not feel the same. And
the culture behind the scenes was real. You guys felt the pressure. Producers hated being there. The pressure from the top down, and especially with All Stars, because the high fashion cycles didn't work and they were trying to get ratings up. So then the producers were told, we got to do crazy. We got to do big. We got to do nuts. We got to do, and everything was so corny. And there are certain people at the top, they just are corny. So they come up with corny ideas, and
that's it. You can't help it. If you're corny, you're corny. But you know what? If they would have just been smooth, Jay, and like let things flow and just had natural photo shoots and allowed you to do what you do, it would have naturally garnished the result that they were trying to achieve. It's just so frustrating to have all of these great personalities and they have a following and we know their story and we're familiar with them. Like, just let things flow naturally. And it did not do that. It was really frustrating. And the girls just so desperately wanted to be seen for their growth, like in their space of growth, myself included, which is why I would be frustrated when I saw scenes
So
happening.
a lot of fans asked about specifically the whole perfume moment.
Oh,
Do
yes.
you want to? So there are so many questions about the perfume in the bathtub moment, and I can't remember who asked it, but do you feel you kind of speaking up about that is what kind of ultimately got you into that elimination spot?
310%.
310%.
I would have went to Greece, without a doubt. And not because I was a great model, because I wasn't, but I'm fun. And I just believe that. But what happened, what wasn't shown on camera was, I think prior to that episode, Kayla had drank too many Red Bulls. We ran her to the hospital. And then I was complaining about, like, where's our food? We didn't eat. And
Yes,
in
because
hindsight, it
fans
really
asked about
wasn't.
that too. What was
Yeah.
going on with the food, by the way?
I don't know how long ago that was, but I remember feeling like we didn't get fed for however many hours, and I was frustrated. It wasn't that big of a deal, honestly. I can admit that. But at the time, I was just in a
Well, I
space
get
of
hangry.
pain.
I definitely get hangry if I don't eat every few hours. So I get
And
it.
I tried to start the revolution. Like, come on, girls, they can't film this show without us. We're gonna get our food, and nobody was with me on that. I think Kayla was, but that's just because she was over it. And I just went off on a tangent, called everybody in, get Ken Mog, I don't care, we're gonna eat. And so by the time we made it to the perfume challenge, I was like, I'm not getting in this tub, guys. Like, we had a running joke of do 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 do, and we would sing the circus theme song because we were like, this is ridiculous. Like, why are y'all doing this to us? Like, why are you making a mockery of who we are? We're signed models. Like, this is ridiculous. And so I was over it. I knew I was going home. I didn't care. My first reaction on Top Model when I got eliminated, Cycle 9, I was bawling. I was devastated.
Yeah.
This time I was like, get me the out of here. And it screwed me over because I had to stay in a hotel anyway, but I just wanted to be off camera because they made a mockery of us. And so, I went home because I didn't get in the stuff. Sorry.
Absolutely. And one of the things that Isis had brought up, because again, my novel, which just released, is inspired by my life, not just on Top Model, but within the entertainment industry. And she's on a chapter where she was like, it's like right in the middle of the book where the main, before the main story kind of takes over. And she's like, I was reading some things and going,
Right.
But, I did feel, and as the show kind of even got to that point, it was no longer, Tyra truly had a dream when she started the show. And that was, she wanted to give girls an opportunity to feel what it's like to be in the real industry and really to find the next top model. And that was her dream.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the lines, everything got distorted, everything got twisted. And by the time we got there in Cycle 17, you're absolutely right. It was about ratings. What can we do that's crazy? But that's what reality in general was becoming. Reality shows were like craziness.
Yeah. And to that point, I heard Allison talk about what Tyra did for her and what Top Model did for her. Top Model changed my life, and Tyra changed my life. Wow. And I would never discredit her.
Absolutely not.
I went on her talk show and did amazing things for her. She checked in on me. I graduated and she sent me like a beautiful message. She's done a lot for just the culture, and I respect it. I believe everything that she said. She set out to create this change and do this wonderful thing. And I think along that journey, you get tainted because I remember Adrienne came out and talked about her, and it's like the first girl that I've given this opportunity to, she like almost slaps me in the face. And then I don't know what has gone on, but I'm sure a lot has transpired to turn her off from it, and ratings and a lot of different dynamics in play. But like, the Top Model did a lot for a lot of us. And for that, I'm grateful. There was a lot of nonsense that took place, but for that, forever.
We always have to look to the silver lining. Someone, I would never regret even, like, I don't believe in the word regret. So regretting anything you've done in life is not a healthy emotion. And, it's one of those things. It's like, again, even myself, and I've said it in all these chats, You know, I will always respect everything that Tyra has done and what she represents in the industry. But we are also all human beings, and we all have things that we struggle with. We all struggle and journey in our life. And really, even my novel, it's a journey of self. It's this story of ultimately getting to a place of self-validation, not looking for external validation, and realizing where that comes from, even with everything going on around you. So, so we were talking about like 3 different things there. So let's talk about even that double elimination. Did you see that coming? Because that was you and Kayla.
No, I thought they were only sending me home. And so I believe they.
And I love Kayla, by the way, to death. I think everyone knew I had a little soft spot for her. But.
She loved you. Like, honestly, she loved you so much. Genuinely.
Yeah, so I did too.
Person. We were super close. We lost contact, but she was like one of the closest people to me. I think they were going to send her home, but because I tried to start the revolution and get everybody against them, they sent me packing too. So we were stuck in the hotel together, and so we got even closer then. But we didn't care. Like, that's how bad it was. We were just like, get us out of here. And it didn't have to be that intense, but the house was super stressful.
Very so. And that's why I asked everyone, like, you know, I totally understand you guys all wanting to come back for this idea of showing what you've learned and grow, and it makes total sense. But, you know, somebody said to me, oh, if they do a final, Tyra's alluded to doing some final cycle, I can probably pretty much guarantee that I will not be asked to be a part of the show.
You don't think so?
Oh, hell no. There's
I know. No show without the Jays. There's no top model without the Jays.
They tried to do it for a few years, haven't they? Well, that didn't really work out, but it didn't work out. But I don't think they're going to come to me. Yeah. But let me ask you this. I did ask this of other girls, though. If they did do another last season and they do go All-Stars, and they did call you, would you go back and do another All-Stars?
No, it has nothing to do with the craziness in the house and all those things that transpire that I know I'm walking into. I'm a teacher. I have a lot of responsibility. And honestly, I was in a group chat with Allison and Isis last night, and the petty just came out of nowhere. And I was like,
yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in that space. And I just couldn't. I would lose everything that I've worked so hard to gain.
And see,
I would be watching.
Yeah, and the thing is, you guys are all like these, and again, you guys were kids when you were doing it, and you're successful women now, and you don't want to put and me, myself, like I just said, like, I had left the show. Again, it was my choice to leave the show when I finally left, and that was in 2011, although it aired in 2012. And that was like, you know, really like 9 years ago. And even with me writing my novel's just inspired by it. My characters are characters onto themselves. And I didn't like rewatch the show or think about things, and I moved on from a lot. But in doing the Jays chats, honestly, you know, during quarantine and really thinking about a lot of the seasons and the individual episodes again, I didn't expect to relive some of the emotions, because when I was writing the book, my book was about the characters, and I was talking to psychologists and digging into like these cool characters that I wanted to show a really interesting 360 of. I wasn't really thinking about that time so much. And well, with these chats, though, I did realize there was just so much toxicity behind the scenes that really, honestly, if just kind of like you, for just that reason alone, I don't think I'd want to go back to be in the middle of that with that cast of characters. And I mean, the people, everyone working on there, really.
But honestly, Jay, who could they recruit? Everyone's so old. We look good, but
y'all look good. I mean, why not?
I don't. Everyone's like 30 plus.
Yeah.
Who are you going to? I mean, I would be watching.
Here's what I say. Look at Naomi serving everything. Okay, she's serving it.
Naomi, though. I mean, I would definitely be watching. Tuned in.
A lot of people down below, there's some people go that they've not heard about my book, even though it's like everywhere and on Entertainment Tonight and everything. It's right this. We hashtag it The Meltdown, but the full title is The Wig, the Bitch, and the Meltdown. That's Keisha Cash.
Talking about this book. I need it. I talking about it. She's addicted. She's
Yes,
like,
it's
I'm on chapter 14.
yeah, it's everywhere. You can get it everywhere books are sold. You can download it, Apple Books,
Yes.
Kindle, Barnes and Noble, Amazon. It's like it's everywhere. But it is a fun satirical piece, but there is a gravitas to it. So it's not just a fluff puff piece. It is
Yes.
salacious. You do laugh out loud. You will talk to the book, but at the same time, it does touch on some really important core themes, like the cost of fame. And
Right.
even looking at the abuse of power within the industry and the workplace and all that, there are a lot of interesting things there. But anything else about Cycle 17 that you want to bring up? There's still fan questions here. I can ask you some of these questions. What did you
Questions
think of
are
the Michael
moving
Jackson
fast.
shoot? Because I know that was the shoot where you were struggling, and I was like, "Girl, Bianca, come on, we got to get it together." Do you remember
Yes,
that day? It was
I
crazy.
it was really crazy. The thing that stands out to me the most was Laura doing that dance move on her knees. I don't know if you remember that, but she was a dancer. She shared
Hmm.
with us that she was a dancer as a child, and she stopped dancing because of an injury in her knee. But she wanted it so badly that she was
Hmm.
willing to damage her knee even more. And she got best photo, which she should have.
So
It was
yeah, she worked for that.
I remember it being a lot of celebrity based on All Stars, which would have made sense. They could have
Hmm.
done that without it being so corny. That would have been cool too. But like, yeah, we started with like Nicki Minaj and then Latoya Jackson. And it was a lot. It was a lot of
Well, they were
celeb.
trying, like, look, those high fashion cycles didn't work. And so now they were trying, okay, we'll go for the celebrity factor. I actually kind of liked doing the Kris Jenner shoot, to be honest
Yeah.
with you, because no, somebody asked, I didn't get to the question, like, what was my favorite shoot, even though I wasn't doing the creative. I did like doing the Kris Jenner with, I thought it was like a fun kind of idea. I don't know, but
What was the
did you
Kris
have a
Jenner
favorite
shoot?
shoot? It was because the girls, it was like they were playing like little girls, like it was like that whole kind of doll, like little girl shoot. It was just kind of cool,
That's so
creative.
sweet.
Yes.
Um, my
What
favorite
was
shoot
your
was
favorite?
it was definitely the Pink's hot dog only
Oh,
because
yes. Isis said that.
yes, I never got to feel pretty on set. I never felt pretty on Top Model, Cycle 9 because they cut my hair. And then Cycle 17, I just never was in anything that I would wear or my makeup would feel like me. And the
Mm-hmm.
pink shoot was the first time I felt pretty on set, which is really sad when you think about it.
It is, but I do, and I did. I remember when we were on the other chat, you had said I saw your comment go by, and you said you love that. And Isis, I do also remember Isis eating her hot dog down. Then I was like, girl, we got to finish. You if you finish that hot dog, there's no more shoot.
Right.
But
I'm pescatarian now, so I couldn't even eat one if I wanted.
it was crazy. What was there anybody in the house that because again, this is all stars, right?
Yeah.
So was there anybody that you felt like you were thinking like, oh, I don't know if this is going to go, we're going to really rub like out of the beginning?
Yeah. 100%. I knew Lisa and I were not going to gel. I think
Mm-hmm.
from the door, and people in the house didn't understand why. And I just have a very good understanding of myself, and I see people for their worth. And
Mm-hmm.
on television, that translates badly. That translates as you're a bitch. Why aren't you giving this person a chance? But in real life, you just know who you're going to gel with and who you're not going to
And that's
gel
a
with.
very and that's a positive thing to be strong
Yeah.
and know what your boundaries are for sure.
Right. And, like I said in the beginning, in hindsight, I realized that culturally, we just come from two different places and have two different ideas of what's morally right and boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really feel like she respected my boundaries. And so we had a lot of back and forth. That famous situation with the phones when
Mm-hmm.
Shannon and I, something transpired. And I remember feeling frustrated in that moment because I didn't want to come off like a bad person or like a bitch. And Shannon immediately cries. So she has a sensitive spirit.
Mm-hmm.
But as a Black woman, I'm talking to you and you just start crying. And it's especially because I'm naturally loud. And so it looks like I'm the bad person
Mm-hmm.
with the image that was already
Mm-hmm.
portrayed of me on Cycle 9. And you're just sitting here crying. And I'm like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
wait, how do I get back in control
Mm-hmm.
of the situation because I'm not saying anything mean to you.
Mm-hmm.
And Lisa just, my phone battery, she just jumps in and she's like, stop it, you're making her cry. And I remember going to Bree, who is my soundboard, still my sister,
Mm-hmm.
and saying, why does she always jump in? Why does she feel the need to jump in? And Bree made this amazing point to me, which was, well, maybe she feels the need to stand up for people because no one stood up for her at one point in her life. So you don't know
Mm-hmm.
where that comes from. So try to find
You
a way
never,
to understand
yeah.
that.
Yeah, and that's something interesting. It's like we never know where people come from and what is motivating their actions. And
Yeah.
that's something that I even tried to show in my novel with all
Right.
of the characters, including Keisha Cash, the the supermodel
Yes.
host of this show called Model Muse. But
Right.
you never know what's driving your actions. And I wanted that character to be vulnerable, or and she's an anti-hero kind of. And I wanted people to just look at her also and go, she was also under a pressure cooker. What
Right.
drove her to do X, Y, and Z? And so giving a
Exactly.
360 portrait is always key. And I'm glad that you brought that up, even about, your experience in the house, because again, we don't know, what drives, people's actions and why they do what they do. I had, because I saw a bunch of questions down below and a lot of people were still talking about the whole pot lead-in. We did talk about it with Allison and this
Terrible.
terrible. Yes, I mean, like I said, I had nothing to do with the creative guys. If you're just tuning in,
So
like I was
bad.
work for hire. They came up with
So
the
bad.
most insane ideas. They were trying to push ratings. It was horrible because basically there were a bunch of people and everyone was afraid of telling
Yeah.
the other people like these are bad ideas, and everyone was
Yeah.
pushing back and forth. It was a power struggle behind the scenes. I mean, literally executive producers and producers
Yeah.
fighting. The producers
Yeah.
below, they were completely insulted a lot of times and told to go back to the drawing board, but in a bad way, not a respectful
I
way.
remember producers looking at us and almost apologetically, like when certain things were introduced to, like they felt bad for us.
Yeah.
And we were just like, well, can't you change it if you know that this is wrong or this is bad?
They were
And they would,
screamed at. These producers were screamed at. I can tell you, I've witnessed some screaming from, I'm not going to call out names who, but there were only a
right,
few at the top. So you can just imagine who they
right,
were.
yeah,
And they would scream and they were like, we need this, we need these layers, we need to do
yeah.
this, layers, layers, layers. And Pot Lead 'em, Top Model Backwards was exactly that. It was
It was
probably
so
one of the dumbest ideas I'd ever heard of. And
bad.
even when I introduced it, I felt like I wanted to throw up.
That was
It was
so
just so bad.
true top model fashion. Honestly, behind the scenes, we had some of the best relationships with like producers. They really looked out for us. They took, especially like the handlers, like they loved us, and we felt
Yeah.
us. That I'm still friends with a lot of them. So we did.
Yeah.
It's a weird family. Like Top Model is a weird family. I say it's a sorority where like only a few understand and will ever know.
If you were in it.
Exactly. Even like hearing you guys talk throughout the different lives, I would be like, wow, I know so much more. And it seems like you're spilling tea, but you're really just giving surface level because there's so much more you guys could say, but you're keeping it cute.
Well, I want to, what, ultimately, I think it's important to speak our truth.
Yes.
It's the same thing, I think it's important to speak your truth, but it's also important to always be respectful. Like I will be respectful of people, but at the same time, like I said, I just turned 48 and I have to like be honest and say, this wasn't cool, or this was a lie, and this is
Right.
what really happened. And it's okay to kind of speak that truth now. And ultimately, that's really what my novel's about. It is a novel, it is fiction, but it
Right.
is woven around. There are Easter eggs built in for all the Top Model fans of things you recognize, but it is a fictional story woven around. And I ultimately wanted to explore some, important truths and part of just journey. And like I said, we all should have a journey of self.
Yes.
And at the same time, I wanted to put out something that's very vulnerable. Like, I don't know if you know this part about it, but people don't know that I'm adopted. And so part of, the first time I ever talked about it was when I was co-hosting The View. And Barbara Walters' daughter is adopted. And we talked about it during Hot Topics. And I just started talking about it on live TV on ABC, and people did not know. And they were shocked. So I actually made it part of the backstory for, and it's part of the main story for Pablo Michaels, who's the protagonist of my piece. And he's inspired by me, but he's not 100% me. But I did want to give my true story in there. And I don't want to spoil it for anyone because you have to get to the end of the book. And there's like huge twists and turns at the end of the book. But that story and that part of that story is really my story. So that's why it's time to just kind of exhale, speak our truths. Again, I will always be respectful to Tyra. And there are things, though, that we have gone through, and it's okay to talk about it. The same way she spent her life talking about her issues with Naomi. Yes. And Naomi has been nothing but wonderful to me my entire career. And I've done her makeup. I've worked with her several times. Wow. And I love all the philanthropic stuff that she does. And so there's no shade. People see that I do things with Naomi, but I think it's beautiful that I've always had a great experience with her, but that doesn't mean that Tyra did not. And we're all different human beings, and we all have different experiences with different people. And I personally have had a very different journey with Tyra. When I first met her, I revered her, loved her. I still care about her and her life. And I went through a journey with her. And it started off where I would do anything to help build this show for her. And I did everything. And that changed. And it's okay for me to tell that story now.
I mean, Jay, you are top model. Like, you've been around since the beginning. And I just want to say, like, I'm so proud of your growth. And like, I feel like some people are like, oh, he wrote a book. But for me, it's like, no, like, he wrote his truth. He told his story. And that's amazing.
And I wrote it myself. I didn't have a ghostwriter. I had a great writing mentor, but I did write it myself. Yes, no ghostwriter. And and so, but I had a great writing mentor who really pushed me. So, and I know Isis is in the middle of hers reading it. So what you're going to have to do, Miss Bianca, is text me your address, and I will also send you your own copy. I will sign it. I will write a note in the front, and I will pop you a copy.
Personalized note.
Oh, you're going to I gave Isis a personalized note. I'm going to give you a personalized note as well. So I will send you, but you have to send me your address.
I will text it to you. I'm really proud, and I'm happy to have been on this journey, you know, and like watching you guys, watching everyone, to time when you guys talked about Cycle Die, who I love, and Miss J, who I love for just the gems that he would drop on us.
Yes.
He put me aside one time when I was about to lose my crap, and he was like, "Listen, little girl,
get it together quick."
Said that, and he was like, "Stop." And he was like, almost like, I don't want to tell you this, but like, I have to pull you in before you do too much damage to yourself. And he was like, think about who you are and who you want to be. And like, I never gotten that. Love. Like, and there's, you remember those moments because there aren't too many genuine moments while you're filming because people are trying to produce a show, which is understandable. But like the look in his eye was like that Black mama, cut it out.
Like, girl, I want to get you together real quick. And he really, it does have that motherly energy. So yeah, a lot of people don't realize, I mean, they know Miss J's funny, but they don't really know how quick and smart he is. And also definitely I know that moment you're talking about because he's just very much that person. By the way, I saw Allison Berlo. She goes, I just bought my book. Girl, Allison, text me your address. You know, I'm sending all the girls personalized copies. So Allison, you got to text me your mailing address too. I know they're on the road right now camping, but I'm getting everybody their personalized copies. And when you do read it, you're going to have to text me on the side, Bianca, because they're going to be we're going to have to do sidebar tea, like real sidebar tea.
We're going to start a group chat because Isis has been feeding to start a book club. And I know she wants to talk about it. By the way, sidebar, I was so drained by Allison just looking perfect while just listening to you talk or while taking breaks. But I was like, why is this girl just so perfect?
A bunch of people wrote that because even when Allison was talking, she'd say, let me think. And I know she was not posing, but she was just doing it. And it just looked like a beautiful painting or Allison's gorgeous.
Tell me that Allison should not have forget all the drama and everything that did take place. In my mind, if we're thinking about the criteria for like an all-star top model, why would Allison not be the winner? And I do know that Tyra loves her. She's probably her favorite. But like, I just don't understand what logic played out.
I don't even know. Like I told you, I showed up for work, and I remember even when we
Right.
did that secondary elimination, we were just told, and I was like, okay. It was
Yeah.
like, yeah, crazy.
She's my winner, my top model winner, by behind.
Yeah. So is
Sure.
there any last thing before I jump off? Because I do have to jump onto this other interview, but a separate, nothing to do with lives, or but it's for my book. But is there anything else you want to talk? Just any myths about Cycle 17 from?
I think the biggest thing that I'll end off with is that there were a lot of broken little girls in one house trying to reclaim something that
Mm,
we never would have gotten had we won or otherwise.
mm,
We were on this journey to get something to prove to ourselves, to our families, to our fans, or whomever. And we didn't realize that. I think in hindsight, if we all sit back, we're like, well, who are we trying to do this for? What was the point we were trying to make? And
mhm.
so a lot of that tension and things that went down was built off of something internal.
A self and like an insecurity and vulnerability, which ultimately I think as we sit here older and looking back at
Yeah.
everything, every person on this planet goes through this journey of finding self-validation. And again, when you read my book, I don't want to spoil it, that's actually
Yeah.
what the book is about. It's about learning to find that journey of self. It's this getting to this place that we need to stop looking for external validation. We need to find, and when you do validate yourself, ultimately, it is the most powerful thing. The
Yeah.
most powerful thing.
Yes. And so when you see like people still in that space, it hurts me because it's like, I mean, All Stars was like 2011. And so this is fun, but like I can't sit in this space and talk about top model and relive this and have like the Al Bundy moment that I like to call it. And it hurts me to see people still in that space because it's like trying to heal what's broken inside of you. And so I just wish all of my girls the best on their journey. And
Yes.
I'm proud to be a part of the sorority.
Yes, thank you. I'm so glad that I got to join you as well. We did like an extra special long Jay's chat today, part 1 and part 2.
Right.
Bianca, I'm so glad we could do this with you because All Stars was a moment. There was so much to discuss, and I'm glad we got to do this and hang out a bit. And so definitely remember, text me your address.
I will.
I'll get a book in the mail to you tomorrow. I guarantee. Ask all the girls; they got their book like 2 days later. You will get a book from me 2 days later. And thank you for ending on that message. And that message is very powerful. So
I wish I could do the Allison like pout. And,
yeah, we should end on the Allison Powell. I don't know. Yeah, she's gorgeous. I can't stand her.
Perfect. Thank you so much, and much love to my Isis and my Allison, my Bree, all my girls.
Everybody, thank you again.
Yes.
Thanks, guys, and thanks to everybody. And next week I'm doing my last Jay's chat. It's the last one.
Whew.
Cycle
I'm
18.
Woo!
Okay. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.